happened last
Yeah.
week.
Okay. First of all, I know the history behind the WNBA. I know that both of those cities have had teams before and they got us where we're at, so I'm thankful for that.
Some WNBA players show up, perform their duties, and then depart. Another woman who joined the most. Sophie Cunningham of the highly talked about women's basketball team started hurling people to the ground right away. Went viral overnight, after which she came down to discuss all of her secrets and what it's actually like to play with the most controversial player in the world. What she disclosed was both unexpected and totally defied the narrative that the majority of people had previously accepted. To comprehend the significance of, to understand any of this, you must return to January 31st, 2025, the day that transformed in a way that Sophie Cunningham most likely could not have anticipated. She had worked hard with the Phoenix Mercury for 6 seasons, earning a strong reputation as a courageous guard with the ability to shoot lights out. It was later discovered that she had contracted the Indiana fever. Not just any squad. Caitlin Clark, the most scrutinized athlete in women's sports, plays for the Indiana Fever. More cameras, controversy, and national attention surround them than any WNBA team in history. The contract was remarkable as well. The sport was astonished by a huge 10-team megadeal. Cunningham did not receive a kind introduction to her new surroundings. She was abandoned in the middle of a storm, and what happened thereafter displayed every aspect of her true personality. Very few people discuss this. Cunningham had a difficult time in Indiana. Her debut was postponed until May 22 due to an ankle injury she sustained during the preseason. She suffered another ankle injury. She was unable to play for 2 more weeks after that. Playing for a new city, a new coach, a new system. Despite new teammates, she was struggling with her body and trying to establish a rhythm. In those initial weeks, there was a lack of chemistry, no momentum, and she struggled. It seemed quite unlikely that this trade would be successful at all, but something snapped right before the All-Star break, and Cunningham not only found her rhythm again but also blasted off. Following her promotion to the starting lineup. During her 13 games as a starter, she averaged 112 points and shot. She was possibly the team's most productive player at the time, shooting over 51% from the field. Nothing happened during the 2025 WNBA season. Prompted a more immediate response than the events of June 17. The Fever had located its enforcer, and she was only getting started. The Connecticut Sun was being hosted by the Fever, and Sheldon had been stabbed throughout the brutal game. During the third quarter, Sunuard JC struck Caitlin Clark in the eye. This type of play frequently results in a shrug and a free. Sophie Cunningham, however, did not shrug. A quarter later, she seized Sheldon and dragged her to the ground in front of. Everyone lost the moment when they were evicted, and social media collapsed overnight. Cunningham received hundreds of. In a matter of hours, she gained thousands of Instagram followers. Her TikTok following increased from 300,000 to more than 2 million. She quickly became well known outside of basketball. When she finally talked about, she was straightforward in public. She also acknowledged that the league had penalized her about $900. She declared that she had no regrets at all. It was more than just becoming viral. I will stand up for my allies. Video. Sophie Cunningham's entire public persona changed at the same time. The consequences of that dispute became much more intriguing when Cunningham disclosed what she soon disclosed on her new. She co-founded the podcast Show Me Something with West Wilson, a reality TV star and childhood buddy. Without hesitation, she revealed something that had been the subject of months' worth of rumors. There were genuine discussions regarding how to deal with Caitlin Clark in a locker room during her rookie season the previous year, when she was still with the Phoenix Mercury. She validated a lot of people's concerns, but no one wanted to voice them. According to Cunningham, players in the league were purposefully concentrating on Clark in order to demonstrate to her the true meaning of the W. That's how rookies are treated, she added, but in Clark's case, it had gone much too far. What are people doing, I wonder? After witnessing it as a team member, Cunningham declared, "It's just too much. I'm over it." She had actually been in those rooms, so if I think it's too much, it's probably too much. Her statements had a unique resonance. It wasn't generally accepted that this was an admission. Cunningham's repeated revelations. Listeners were enthralled with the podcast, which turned into a platform for music. In one episode, she confronted those who questioned. The league was impacted by Caitlin Clark's irresponsible speech and lack of hedging. If you don't think is the face of the WNBA, if you believe that the league wouldn't exist today without her, you are just wrong. She clarified that she wasn't making fun of other league players. This is the closest thing to what she said. She did, however, find it incomprehensible that Clark's contribution to the development of women's basketball was being ignored, and it was difficult to ignore how straightforward her remark was. For a league that has been engaged in a complex, continuous internal debate on Clark's standing and reception, it was really credible to hear it directly from a seasoned insider. The internet's response was, as anticipated, the video became viral once more, which significantly changed the story's tone. Then came up. Sophie Cunningham revealed a completely different side of herself in addition to the fights, podcasts, and viral events. She offered to deliver meals to local families at the annual Aaron Nesmouth event while being appropriately microphoned and having her words recorded. "This is what we're here for," she said, turning to face the throng of people at the November charity event. "We're here for you." This is the bit that really resonated. She had a one-year contract with a Fever, but she didn't have one. Had already run out. She didn't have to be there. She wasn't paid. She just showed there, rolled up her sleeves, and started serving. Fever fans went crazy. The footage of the event became viral just as fast as J.C. Sheldon's fights. Comment after comment encouraged the team to sign her for life. Even people who had never watched a WNBA game started to pay attention. Sophie Cunningham, a farm girl from Columbia, Missouri, ties everything of her identity to this other half. To a diligent and pious upbringing. She then started talking about Caitlin Clark's offshore court activity, and almost everyone was shocked by what she stated. People had given the idea that Clark was practically untouchable. A composed, polished superstar athlete who navigates life with ease. Cunningham completely ruined that perception. When she appeared on the Like a Farmer podcast, she was asked about her favorite Clark story. Her answer was so direct that it felt like she was divulging a secret. She said that Clark is merely a typical person who actually loves basketball. Then she called her a huge old dork. When you first meet someone who attracts so much attention, you are unsure of what to anticipate. You get ready, she said. Rather, she found someone who was sincere, humble, and completely foolish. She described herself as the greatest nerd you'll ever meet and said she loved Clark's whole atmosphere. The most compassionate statement ever made about Clark to millions of people who only see her via highlights, press conferences, and sponsorship deals. Their off-court connection evolved into its own story. When asked which teammate it was, Cunningham gave a perfect response. Caitlin Clark is the person she would least trust to handle her social media accounts because Cunningham lovingly characterized Clark as a starter, implying that she would start a drama, publish something, and take a look at the chaos. This was absolutely consistent with the way these two interact on social media. Their followers love their regular, playful taunts, inside jokes, and mutual teasing, implying that they were Indiana Fever mermaids en route to. In August, Cunningham posted a video of himself and coworker Lexi Hull in a swimsuit on Twitter as a recruitment tool. Drive for bikini sponsors. Eventually, Cunningham's podcast learned about Clark as well. By these two's criteria. When a fan asked for a Clark appearance, the Show Me Something account's public reaction was only. Beneath all of this delight, though, was a season that went terribly wrong. By August, the Fever had turned into an almost incredible injury catastrophe. Caitlin Clark only took part because of a groin injury, bone bruise, and quad pain. In 13 games throughout the season. Cunningham and Clark were two of the 5 players who were eventually ruled out for the season. At one time, the crew was so understaffed that they qualified for an emergency hardship exception. Prior to August 17, when Connecticut Sun guard Brienne January stumbled into Cunningham's leg and tore her. She had been playing MCL. Surgery was done after that. The season is gone. Before the playoffs even started, the woman who had fought her way into the starting lineup scored more than 11 points per game and developed into one of the team's most beloved members was no longer there. She watched from the bench as the eventual winner. A fully devastated Fever team forced the Las Vegas Aces to play 5 games in the playoffs. Cunningham must have found it terrible to watch everything happen, but that team's perseverance was incredible. Without her, the postseason activities were almost as exciting as the actual season. Cunningham's 1 year? She became an unrestricted free agent in a league where nothing was assured once her $100,000 contract ended. In addition, the CBA talks between the Players Association and the WNBA are at a standstill. Nobody was aware of the forthcoming season's compensation structure or the official start date of free agency. She signed up for the brand-new International 5-on-5 Touring League, Project B, which promised her over $2 million annually. Approximately 8 times the highest WNBA salary at the time. She also began to increase her media visibility in a manner that showed her capacity to think beyond basketball. The podcast, the social media brand, and the sponsorship deals. She was using the fame she had acquired in just one season in Indiana to launch a full-fledged public career. Throughout it all, she kept saying that she wanted to go back to the Fever and play with Clark. Again, the CBA was ultimately settled in mid-March 2026. Oh, and her future in Indianapolis was at last accessible when free agency began. By the end of 2025, the numbers showed a story that no. As one may have anticipated at the start of the year, Google's yearly search ranks fell, and Sophie Cunningham came in at number 7 on the list of the most Googled athletes in the US. Caitlin was not mentioned. Cunningham had essentially taken over for Clark, who had held the same role in 2024. When this was brought up on, she answered her podcast in the same direct, non-performative way that she approaches almost everything. She said she wasn't sure how to feel about it. She tried to explain Clark's absence right away. She noted that Clark had only participated in 13 games this season, but she also mentioned how great it was to be the sole female player in the top 10. She wasn't boasting or concentrating on herself. Instead, she was thinking more about her partner. More than anything, she said during the year. Sophie Cunningham's actual character off-camera was exposed by that response. And if the new CBA holds together, this is the current situation. The 2026 WNBA season is set to start on May 8th. After winning the MVP award during the FIA Women's World Cup qualification and leading Team USA in all major statistical categories, Caitlin Clark is in excellent health for the competition. The Fever are preparing for what ought to be their healthiest and the team's most fearsome roster ever. Additionally, Sophie Cunningham, the woman who came to Indianapolis as a trade piece, became an enforcer, went viral, gained popularity among music fans, sustained an injury. While recuperating, she built a media empire and continued to speak her truth. She is eager to learn more. If she is allowed to rejoin the team that transformed her life, fans are constantly pressuring the organization to invite her back. Reports state that Clark expressed her feelings about the matter to the front desk. 2 new teams. As a result of the expansion draft, Portland and Toronto will join the league. As the new year approaches, one of the most eagerly awaited storylines in women's basketball is the Fever's roster selections. Whatever happens next, one thing is for sure. Sophie Cunningham walked into a room full of expectations, challenged them all and came out stronger. She showed up without a contract to serve meals to strangers or accountability, told the truth when no one asked, and defended her colleague when no one else would. People can't stop watching because it's a human rather than a brand. Some WNBA players arrive, carry out their responsibilities, and then depart. Sophie Cunningham, a woman who entered the most, discussed the women's basketball squad, immediately began hurling people to the ground, and became viral overnight. And then took a seat to divulge all the information she had been holding to herself concerning its true nature. Enjoy playing with the most contentious player in the world. What she revealed wasn't just surprising. It completely added to the story that most people had previously come to accept. You have to go back to January 31st. 2025 was the day Sophie Cunningham's life changed in a way she probably never would have predicted. To understand the significance of any of this, she had established herself as a reliable, powerful, and shooting guard. The lights out and didn't experience any fear during her 6 seasons of arduous labor with the Phoenix Mercury. Later, it was disclosed that she had been traded to the Indiana Fever, not just any team. However, the Indiana Fever, who have more cameras and are home to Caitlin Clark, the most watched athlete in women's sports, controversy, and more national attention than any WNBA team in history. The industry itself was also historic. Cunningham was not welcomed to her new world with kindness. It was a massive deal involving 10 clubs that rocked the league. She was dumped in the middle of the storm, and what happened next revealed every facet of her actual character. Almost everyone talks about this. Cunningham had a challenging upbringing in Indiana. Due to an ankle injury she had during the preseason, her debut was delayed until May 22nd. She had another ankle injury a week later, which prevented her from playing for 2 more weeks. Playing for a new city, a new coach, she was battling her body and attempting to develop a rhythm. She struggled in those first few weeks with a new system and new colleagues. There was a lack of chemistry. Please let us know what you think in the comments below. To ensure you don't miss anything, subscribe and turn on all alerts. Once you click the video on the screen, we'll see you in the next one.